All right, praise, glory, and honor to the Most High God. So, I'm just making a little vlog video. I guess this is going to be more like a little bit of a college vlog or that college life type vlog. Just speaking of some of my experiences. Now, I will say, just because I'm speaking of some of my experiences, this does not reflect the overall views of others who are, who may be going to college, currently in college, or preparing to go to college. But hopefully, there could be something in which I will share, discuss that you may find to be of benefit, or if you're someone and you may know someone who's preparing to go to college, maybe certain things to keep in mind, and especially being a believer. You know, there are some individuals who, for starters, unfortunately, debate about whether or not believers should even be in school or not. And to that, I would say you should seek the Lord in regards to what it is He would like you for you to do within your own life. I've heard different things. I've had people even speak to me concerning some of their views when it comes to me in school. And at the end of the day, you have to know what the Lord is leading you to do. Because what He may have one person do, He may not have the next person doing. It is a lot that can be said in regards to the different controversy about school, whether you're an advocate for a person going to school, whether you're an advocate for an individual not being in school. The reality is we are in this world. We have to live in this world. We don't have to be of the world, but we're in this world for a reason. And a lot of times God will allow us to pursue, or He will lead us to pursue certain areas within this world for His glory. We have so many biblical examples of what the Lord has done. Queen Esther, she was in the area of politics. We have Daniel, we have Nehemiah, we have Joseph, and those are just in areas of just politics. But of course, being in this world, there are certain things that we have to go through in order to get into certain positions. God is a God of order and indecency, and we are told for the Lord's sake that we are obeying certain laws around, down here. However, there is wisdom that must be applied with that as well. So I said that to say, if you're an individual and maybe you don't have the full understanding or revelation when it comes to different brothers and sisters having different callings and different assignments that coincide with what you feel they should and shouldn't do, I would recommend you seek the Lord. This is where it comes with having to know our identity in the Lord and what the Lord has specifically called us to do, and to also be mindful and being humble when it comes to the walks of others and the journeys that the Lord has called them to be on. And if for some reason, just speaking in general, you may find that an individual is going down the wrong path, you be led in the Lord. Sometimes the Lord may not be leading you to say anything. The Lord could very well lead you to pray for that individual. Things can depend, but I'm just speaking of that just in general. Hopefully it won't have to come down to that. I'm just saying, but you know how people are. People can be very expressive of their opinions, whether it's called for at the time, whether it's not, and there's just a certain way to do things, and I prefer to just do things in the appropriate way as the Lord calls me to do it. When you stay in the Lord, He helps you in developing more maturity in areas, and I just want to grow into maturity. The learning never stops, so hopefully something can be taken from that. So getting into my whole experiences with it, I graduated high school in the year 2013, and I went straight into college. And honestly, it wasn't anything that I really wanted to go straight into doing. However, I was getting good scholarships. I didn't want to lose out on those scholarships, but I remember I was pretty miserable at the time, because that was also around the time when the Lord was beginning to wake me up. Like, and when I was turning 17, the Lord began drawing me back to Him. I won't say that I never not like I was never against the Lord. I mean, I grew up in the church. I grew up being a believer in the Lord. However, I was 1 foot in and 1 foot out, 1 foot in the light, 1 foot in darkness. I wasn't really following Him in the way that I should have been following Him, or how I follow Him today. So, you know, long story short, got out of church for quite some time. A lot of trials and stuff pushed me back into the church, because at that time I'm like, okay, I need to be in the Lord's house and stuff. I need the Lord. The Lord has ways of drawing you back to Him. So I went back to church, got out again. And make a long story short, get back in. So as you can see, there's a lot of instability. When I turned 17, I was still in the process of, again, the Lord was calling, he was drawing me to him. I'm discovering just how wicked this world is. I'm witnessing to a lot of the devilish things, darkness that's going on. And my attitude was like, oh my goodness, we need God more than ever. It's getting really dark now. And long story short, that's what drew me back to the Lord. The Lord began opening my eyes to different things that I was noticing, discovering within this world, different certain truths that was just very dark. I didn't like it, and it drew me back to him. I drew, yeah, he drew me back to him. And that was again when I was in high school. So, at that time, I really didn't care for school that much. But as I've gotten older, it's like my dislike for school just grew more and more. So I didn't want to go to college, but I went. Not to mention, a lot of people really wasn't expecting that from me because I was considered to be an overachiever in many areas. So imagine an overachiever wanting to drop out of college. How many people do you think like they looking at you like what? you know, but surprisingly when I did leave, I didn't experience as much backlash as I thought I would. But I know I'm kind of like jumping, so let me just continue. So, being a freshman in college, I stayed on college campus. I won't say the name of the school, at least not right now. I mean, I have in certain times past, not on YouTube anyway, but right now I won't mention it. But I do recall staying on campus for about a year and a half, and I hear people always say you should go to college and get that college experience. And I'm like right now, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just so overrated. Like there are people who love the college experience, but then there are some people who's like, okay, and it's yeah, you get to be on your own. Yeah, you're away from home. You're not near like a lot of family unless you have family who's going to school with you. But it really wasn't much of a big deal to me as some people made it out to be. Yeah, there was a certain level of independence because you had to take responsibility yourself. At my campus, I was staying on campus, but thankfully food was included. A part, it was part of the room and board, so I didn't have to pay to get food. Sometimes certain people on campus do, especially if you were an individual, you had one of the apartments, you had to buy your own food. But in my case, I had 4 meals a day, so I didn't go hungry. By the grace of God, we were able to freely wash our clothes, but that was covered. That was part of the tuition too. So if I need to wash my clothes, I was able to do that. You couldn't take like household appliances such like kitchen utensils. You couldn't have that in the dorm rooms and things. You couldn't have anything that could start a fire, to be honest. So um I liked that aspect where I could get up. I mean, if I want to go to the cafeteria and eat freely, I could. If I want to go to the gym, I could do that. They had different events at the campus that I could participate in over the weekend. There was transportational services that was given. They were free. It would take you off campus. You could go to the mall and other areas, designated areas. And the bus will also take you to different places on the campus too. So I did like some of those aspects. I was able to go, I could freely print without having to pay in certain areas. Of course, when you go to a library, sometimes you may have to pay, but I don't recall ever having to pay because a lot of these things were included in my room and board. Unless you're a student and you weren't staying on campus, there are certain things you had to pay for. So I was grateful for that. And even being in the dorms, I didn't have to get my own tissue. If you had like old toilet paper rolls, you could just give them to the front desk and they'll give you new tissue, but you need to make sure you keep those old toilet paper rolls. If not, you probably will be coming up out your pockets though. So I do like the benefit. I did like the benefits of that. I like the benefits of just being able to go around and not have to tell a person, hey, I'm gonna go here. But at the same time, there was just certain things that it really wasn't that much of an issue. It wasn't a big deal to me as some people make it out to be. But then again, that's just me. I wasn't an individual in which I was craving to just get away. So, but I also recall at that time being very, very miserable because, as I said, the Lord was still in the process of drawing me to Him. I was still soul searching. I was still attempting to try to find myself in Him, and I was not happy being on campus. Like I recall, practically I could probably name how many times. Well, no, I probably no. Anyway, I was crying almost every day. I was just that miserable. I would find myself. going to the library. They had private study rooms in the library, and I would go into these private study rooms and I would do my work. I would eat a little bit of my lunch, like if I got some Subway or somewhere something else, and I would do my crying or shed some tears and still doing my work. There are some times in which I did not have work and I was still just shedding tears because I was just miserable and I just wanted a way out. I remember crying out to the Lord, and even being on campus with me feeling the way that I felt. As I said, the Lord still drawing me to Him. I began, a lot of my evangelizing began there. I was making flyers, I was passing them out on campus and things. So I praise God and I felt a lot of joy from that. But I just recall, I don't know, it was something about just being in that atmosphere that I didn't like. No one was ever mean to me on campus. There was a lot of very friendly people, but I just felt like I shouldn't have been there. Like I didn't belong there. Like, no, this is not where I was supposed to be. So in 2015, that's when I ended up leaving school and it gave me time to really focus on the Lord. But even just being, those experiences as I made known, like being on campus, I did not have the option of being able to have a single room. A lot of students, we really didn't have that option. Even if you were staying in an apartment, you were still sharing it with someone. And then there was such an overflow to where there were some students who were staying in hotels, and again they had roommates and things. And it takes a lot of humility to have roommates because like the average dorm, or at least because I was a freshman, the freshmen had their own little building that we were in, and the average room, it was you and your roommate, and then you had two suite mates, so it was like four to one little area. But the area that I was in consisted of six girls rather than just four. So imagine six girls trying to share one bathroom. So in the little space that I was in, there are three little cubicles, I could say, and in each cubicle is you and your roommate, then the suite mate and her roommate, and then the other suite mate and her roommate. So you know okay, I just heard something. Anyway, ignore that. But six girls to one bathroom as opposed to the average room that had four girls to one bathroom. And I honestly thought we was gonna run into a lot of problems with that, but we really did it. It took us having to come together and just get a feel for everyone's schedule. Okay, when did you want to get in the bathroom, when is your class, so we could know how to prioritize. It was kind of interesting because some girls went as far as to taking their showers at 3 in the morning. Some took it in the evening. I'm usually more of a morning person. I like to do stuff in the morning, and depending on the weather, if it's too cold out, I would rearrange. I would whether it could have been like a quick a quick wash, because you couldn't bath there, you can only take showers and stuff, or you could do like a quick wash at the sink. So you have to have wisdom in alternating, but some people are different. But there was, it takes a lot of humility because when you're rooming with people, you can select who you would like to have as a roommate. At that time, they generally selected the roommates for us, but if we wanted to switch, we had the ability to do that. But I didn't know anyone personally in whom I wanted to switch with. And then those in whom I did know, one from school, we were just we preferred just being suite mates rather than roommates. But it takes a lot of humility having a roommate because you if it's someone who you don't know, you don't know the person, you don't know their views, you don't know their beliefs, you don't know what spirit they're coming in, you don't know the potential health issues or health challenges that they may have, you don't know their particular pet peeve. So it takes a lot of humility in having to share a room with someone. Some of them, some people have boyfriends, some people have girlfriends, some of them want to have company come over and spend the night. Are you comfortable with being in that same room? Because you can't it's your room, and it's their room too. Of course there's a certain level of comfort, but there's just certain things that you just, unless you knew someone who you can room with, you didn't really have much of a choice of things. I recall having certain experiences with that and not disclosing much about the specific individuals. It took a lot of humility because and especially being a believer in the Lord. People's different beliefs, religious beliefs, I guess if you want to call it, or beliefs in faith differ. So that took a lot of humility. and having to deal with that. And then if you know, dealing with somebody who's just unreasonable. I recall there, I'm probably not gonna say that, but you know, if unless you're dealing with somebody who's unreasonable or insensitive, or they refuse to want to compromise with you, it could bring a lot of challenges, and that ain't good, y'all. That ain't good. My goodness, you know, it takes a lot to have to, you know, deal with that. But if you are an individual and that's just what you want to do, then praise God, that's just what you want to do. But it does take a lot of humility, you know. Say you're dealing with some, you know, people who don't want to clean up behind themselves, you know. Unfortunately, that was a challenge. You know, if you use the shower and the shower's dirty, you don't want to clean it out and clean out the sink, clean the toilet, you know. I'm one of those people. If you use something, just wipe down behind it, clean up after yourself, call it a day. But that was a little bit of a challenge. And then say the temperatures. You stay cold all the time. Your roommate or sweet, well, not sweet mates per se, but roommate may stay hot all the time. That could serve as a lot of challenges. You know, I know that led to me getting sick quite a few times because the winter time is here, and one of my roommates wanted to have the window open and the fan on at the same time in the dead of winter. My attitude is like, are you out of your mind? You know, things of that nature. So it takes a lot of humility to have a roommate. You do have to know where to draw the line with people. Like, no, I'm not gonna allow this, or okay, you know. But I guess in a sense it's good because, as I said, it teaches you humility. Whether you're an individual and you're trying, you know, it helps in preparing you, I guess, for the real world when it comes to maintaining friendships. When it comes to being in a marriage, you have to learn how to compromise. Suppose you have a husband or a wife who deals with certain things. You know, you get stay cold all the time, they may stay hot, things of that nature. So you have to learn how to get along with people. It does prepare you, or you know, help you to get accustomed to dealing with different types of people. And especially being a believer, when you come across different people in whom you ministering to, you don't know these people, you don't know the background, you don't know their stories, you don't know their what may set them off. You know, you could say one word that could trigger anger and so forth to them, things of that nature. So it was a good lesson in humility. But I will tell you this, I'm not interested in doing that anymore. It's like I kind of been there, done that. Like, no, I don't want to do that. And it's interesting because at my old school, the school that I'm speaking about, which is currently my old school, they, you know, if you, with this whole COVID-19 vaccines and stuff going around, they are making a requirement for people, if you're staying on campus, to take the vaccine. The current college that I'm at, although they're taking that very serious, they have not mandated it, you know, as far as everybody being forced to take it, being on campus. So, you know, and that's a whole nother story. This video is not being made to debate about that, and I would advise you, you know, to not come to my channel talking about all that. Not now, you know. That's not the purpose of this video. But I said all that to say, you know, I know colleges have their different views, their different beliefs, and so forth. And all I would say is, if you're an individual and they've made it a requirement to have to take the vaccine at your campus, pray and just let the Lord lead. You know, don't do anything that you're not comfortable with doing. At that age, you are considered a young adult where you should have the ability to do that. But let the Lord lead, because I'm not trying to stir up rebellion in anybody, and I'm not, you know, I'm just saying, let the Lord lead you in everything that you do, because people will always have an opinion about what you should and what you should not do. I say, let the Lord lead. But to the believer, we know that we should seek and inquire of the Lord with everything anyway. So it's really not just me saying it. You know, we turn to the word of God speaks for itself, you know. So it is a lot when it comes to staying on campus, and especially if you're an individual, you may be considered introverted. You don't interact with a lot of people. It does have, you know, it does help you to get out of your comfort zone. It is good to be able to interact with certain people, or to be humble when you speak with certain people. However, there are certain limitations too. You know, not having to partake in everything. So, you know, I'm not one of those individuals in which I'll say I'm extremely strict, but I would say there is a fine line between just willfully doing wrong versus, you know, just interacting and engaging. So, you know, some people have to learn, people have to grow at their own pace. I personally understand that. And I would just say, hey, if it's your first time going on campus or you're returning to campus, let the Lord lead you. It could be a lot, or I found it a little challenging attempting to try to not get consumed in schoolwork, and in the process still keeping the Lord first, taking the time to read the word. Now at that time I was still very new in the faith, so I really wasn't reading as much as I should have been reading, but I always prayed to the Lord. I always did what I could at that time to keep him first. And as I said, I was still even talking and witnessing to people about the Lord, based on the things that I knew at the time, sharing your testimony. You don't have to do a whole teaching, you're just sharing Christ. You don't have to be the most you don't have to be a teacher of the word to just tell a person about your testimony and the things that the Lord has done for you. So, um rewarding in ways, but for me it really was not as that serious as people made it out to be. But hey, if you're excited, looking forward to it, by all means, may the Lord bless you, keep you, and may he be glorified in the midst. But these are like my little experiences, or my experiences staying on campus and stuff. You have to be humble when it comes to dealing with roommates, or maybe even sweet mates, who could very well be insensitive, throwing parties, or you trying to get some rest, and some people just don't care even if you try to talk with them. Some people being unreasonable. In that case, you take the proper action needed with that hopefully will not result in violence. But just speaking in general, these are things to take into consideration. Sometimes people don't, or people or believers don't really think a lot about these things. Praying next the Lord to bless you with humility. Praying next the Lord to help you to show the love of Christ to the people, where when people see you, they're able to see Christ. You would be surprised, even if you have a roommate who's not a believer, the doors that the Lord can open that can allow you to be able to witness and minister to a believer. Yeah, I mean, not to an individual, your roommate, sweet mate, or whoever. The Lord can get the glory out of many of those things, even certain events. They even had an event. They had like different church services there at the time, and at the time, I kind of feel bad about it, but I didn't take advantage of going to those church services, because I was more into relationship rather than just religion, and I was being very critical of the individuals without even taking the time to really get to see what they were about. Looking back at it now, where I'm at, I feel like I would have much of an appreciation for it now, as opposed to how I was then, because I was, pretty self righteous at the time, to where I didn't want to be bothered with that. It was like it's about relationship, and I just automatically assumed a lot of it was just religion, and I not once went to go see and get a feel and test the spirit and see what it was about. So, being overly critical of something that I didn't even take the time to really test the spirit to see for myself. I just thought I knew it all. So praise God. I don't regret some of the experiences, because it has helped me in playing a role in being able to be an effective minister now for the Lord. But I am a firm believer that all things work together for the good of those who love God, they who are called according to his purpose. So Romans 8:28, that's one of my favorite verses. So even if you're an individual, you don't necessarily want to go to school, you feel the Lord is leading you, let the Lord be glorified. You'll probably be surprised with a lot of the experiences and the people that you may meet. You may meet other believers in whom you may develop a good connection with. You never know. Some of you may find even some of your spouses there. Well, let me be careful with that. Some of you, I don't know, the Lord may very well send you a spouse on campus. You never know. It's not about that, but there are certain instances in which that does happen to believers, where, the husbands end up finding their wives on campus or so forth. But it's really bigger than just that. But, you know, let the Lord use you and lead you, even in the midst, of going to school. You never know what the Lord may have you doing later on in life, with what it is that you're choosing to pursue. He may very well use you to minister to someone else. You never know. There's even college students go through things that they may not necessarily open up to their parents about, or maybe some of their friends, but very well the Lord could open and ordain a time for you to even speak and minister to someone. You never know. But as long as you continue to put the Lord first, he be glorified, okay? He be praised. So I'm going to end it right here, because this is 24 minutes. Hopefully I'll be able to upload this on this channel here. But if not, I'll figure it out. So much love to you all. Hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, wonderful weekend, depending on whatever time zone you're in. Peace be with you, and God bless you all.